welcome to All in Yellow,
the official Norwich City podcast.
Today we've got a real treat for fans, this one dating back to the early 2010s with the period of the back-to-back promotions. It's former City midfielder Andrew Crofts. Andrew, great to have you join us on the podcast today. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Alice. Really well, really busy still, which has been nice, obviously with others not being as busy. So yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Busy at Brighton, I guess, at the minute, under-23s player coach. Just tell us how that role came about and how it's going.
Yeah, it's been loving every minute of it. It was about 18 months ago now. I originally signed I'd finished a season with Newport, League Two as a player there. And then in the summer, Yeovil approached me to be a player coach there for the first team. And it's something that I was excited about. I was looking to make the transition into coaching as well, but still felt like I could offer something as a player. And then Darren Shaw phoned me to say, does this appeal to you? And I was like, yeah, definitely. I'd just finished my A licence and it seemed the right fit. And then went up there. It was only 3 days into it, and obviously I'd stayed in contact with Brighton because my relationship there as a first team player, and had so many good connections with so many players and staff, and I always knew that I would go back at one point. And then Liam Rosenior went to Derby. He was a 23 coach at Brighton. Went to Derby when. Obviously, Frank Lampard went to Chelsea, which is a bit of a surreal one, really, because obviously how it come about was Lampard doing well at Derby. He goes to Chelsea. Rosie then goes to Derby, and then there's a space at Brighton. They contacted me to see if I would be interested, and of course, I was immediately attracted to the role. And because I was going to be a player coach at Yeovil, they said, "How do you fancy being a player coach for the 23s? We know you're looking to transition, and It's a pioneering one. It's a unique one. No Premier League club's done it. We see, I think it was Bayern Munich had done it when they come over to play Brighton in the International Cup. And they knew what I was like as a character. And now I sort of liked sort of mentoring and guiding young players when I was a senior player myself. And yeah, it took a couple of weeks for it to be done, but because obviously Yeovil were gutted that they were going to lose me, but they were totally really good with how they handled it, albeit well. There was a lot of disappointment from the manager because he thought he was going to have me for the season. So it took, I think, about 2-3 weeks to get finalised, and in that 2-3 week period, I was like, I just want to get back there and get going. And when the time came when it was all agreed, it was it just felt so right and so perfect timing. So it was it was a really good one. Sorry, that's my front door.
No worries, working from home. Hey? So how does it feel making that transition then to player coach? Do you kind of have to find that balance of keeping a little bit of distance between your teammates, or do you try and keep it all on a level playing field? Is that quite a hard one?
It's different because they're all obviously young players, literally ranging from 16, 17 would be the youngest. At the moment, we've got a 16-year-old who's going to be a real top player, but it's normally sort of 17 to 21. So they're all young players, and obviously in a first team environment, you've got obviously a blend of different ages. So it felt easier than probably what it would have done at the first team because they're all young lads. They're all starting their journeys, and obviously I'd have a lot of experience to offer them. So it was a real fine balance of when I was playing with them, I was just trying to play, but I ended up coaching within that, which I've really sort of found as I got into the weeks and months doing it. I sort of tried to make it my own and knew how to sort of apply what I felt the boys needed. And then obviously when I was just coaching and I weren't playing at all, it was very straightforward to I'm a coach now. Can I quickly grab that?
Yeah, go for it.
You can. An important delivery.
So, Andrew, we're a similar age, and I'm wondering how the body's holding up.
Yeah, mate, the body's good. It's something that I've prided myself on through when I was a young player to now. I like looking after myself. I like feeling good and ready for whatever I'm needed to do. Currently, I'm not training or playing at all because the 23s manager left about 6 weeks ago now to go to Stockport and manage there. And the club asked myself and the assistant to lead, which was a real nice surprise. Obviously, it's something that I'm really enjoying. So I didn't think it was right for me to carry on playing straight away like I take over with Shannon and pick myself straight away. I don't think that would have gone down too well. But it's something that I haven't missed playing for the last 6 weeks, because I've absolutely got the buzz for the coaching, for the leading and stuff. And it's something that's really infused me, and something that I've thoroughly enjoyed and embracing, and just trying to learn from the experience as much as I can.
Yeah, it sounds like you take a lot of pride in developing young players, which is lovely to hear. But how did you go about getting your coaching badges? Because I think I read you said it was a bit like a military experience, having to camp out at night and things to go through that. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm currently on my pro license at the moment with the Welsh FA. So I'd done my B license probably about 6-7 years ago now, and then that, or not, maybe not as long as that, as actually 4 years ago, something. Then on to my A license, and then now I'm just currently halfway through my pro license. And one of our pro license residentials was like you said, a military experience in some mountains in South Wales. It was an experience that I'll never forget. Met some unbelievable people that had been in the SAS, and the situations and experience that they go through is just mind-blowing. And that leadership, that staying calm in crazy situations, and dealing with so many different variables that they go through, and then they're sort of trying to put their spin on it to an elite football environment, and how you deal with communication, leadership, staying calm, managing people, connecting people, relationships, and all that sort of stuff. And it was such a good experience, and really inspirational. I love speaking to people. I love getting to know new people. And but there was a couple of guys there who straight away I had an instant connection with, and I was just like, wow, I love you two already. What you've been through, what you've done, and how well you carry yourself now. They're heroes to me. That like these guys are heroes, but they don't see that whatsoever. They're just normal people who love serving their queen and fighting for their country. And then, yeah, the experience being in the mountains, sleeping overnight. It was freezing. It was November time. We'd done loads of different tasks during the day, and then in the night time, they took us up to the mountain, pitch black. You had your head torches on, and you're in your groups, you're in your syndicates, and it was right now you go. It was cold. It didn't rain all day, and then literally we've got our tents up. The guys, our leaders left us, went back to base, and as soon as they left, it started lashing it down. And you're like, oh wow! And we had these little tents, like you had to put them up against a tree. It's like a sheet, so it ain't like a luxury tent or nothing. You're like mat that you put on the floor, you're laying on. And then every couple of hours, you've got to go to your observation post. I think there's 6 or 7 between each team. And every 1 or 2 hours, you had to go and leave your tent, search, get your way down to this observation post and see if you see any sightings. They obviously like chucking little like grenades about, not obviously real grenades, but like smoke bombs and stuff like that. There'd be people walking down and having a go at each other. And you had to write it all down. And if you didn't spot it, like you'd lose points and stuff like that. And then you'd go back to your tent, swap over with someone, and you're knackered. Like you've worked all during the day. You ain't going to sleep. But to be fair, you think you're not going to be able to sleep in conditions which are so surreal. But you're that tired. You do manage to get an hour or two, and then you get your teammate comes to you, gives you a little poke, and it's your time to do it again. And I remember it was my last one, and I think I got back to my tent about 4:30 in the morning, and I think it was 6:30 that I was back on. I was like, I'm knackered. Like I think I could get 2 hours kip here, and then half hour into that, loads of bombs, like smoke bombs, everything. They're like, get back to base. And you're like, no way. So I got back to base about 5:30. And then it was like, right, now you're going to go through loads of different tasks. You're knackered. but the tasks were brilliant, and each sort of teammate had to lead a task. And the task was like the way they'd done it was superb. There's all different ones, like you're in like a bit and you have to get like rescue someone, and then there's like your medics. There's like it was unbelievable, but thoroughly learnt a lot, and hopefully it's just giving you experience to lead people, communicate well, stay calm and stuff like that. But it was really good.
Is what you're describing there what Brighton under-23's pre-season is going to look like? Is that getting some ideas?
Yeah, definitely. To be fair, one of the guys who I was close with, once obviously the pandemic's sort of under control and we can start getting guys meeting people and stuff like that, I'd love to get one or two of them to maybe do a talk to the boys, because the way it inspired me was like, Jesus, like, and this was, say, November time, so a good few months ago. And as soon as I think about them people or them situations, I don't think it will ever leave me. And that's the sort of like the hold that inspiration can do to a lot of people. And I think like you can, if any of the lads gain something from it in helping them with their journeys as young players, then I think that sort of stuff's great to try and include at some point within a season.
Yeah, it sounds like great character building too, doesn't it? But we'll come on to Norwich in a bit, but I just want to take you back to your early career. You started out at Gillingham. Just tell us about that.
Yeah, great. Loved every minute of it. Real good experience. Obviously, my hometown. I was at Chelsea before that as a young academy player from 9 till 16. And then obviously made the move to Gillingham, and I made my debut as first team player at 16. So when I think about that now, when obviously working with young players, and I think, at the time I didn't really think much about it, but it was obviously a real young age to be able to do that. But my hometown club's Gillingham, where I was born and bred, so to do that for my hometown club, to play a lot of games for them, to captain them, was a real, again, something that will stay with me forever. I've got fond memories of the club. Again, lots of good people, and obviously the fans and people around the area I'll always have a good connection with. But yeah, it was a real sort of great experience for me to do as a local lad.
So did you just miss the Wembley final, the Bob Taylor Manchester City Wembley final for Gillingham? Yeah,
that was before. I ain't that old, mate. that was just before me. But I remember watching it. Again because obviously local team. You're like, oh God, Gillingham are doing well, and then you see that, and great scenes, and them players, say Andy Essenthaler, Paul Smith, Barry Ashby, Nicky Southall, Adi Pennock, them sorts of players. As I was coming up, they were senior pros and gave me a real good upbringing as far as standards, respect, discipline, all that sort of stuff, but fun as well. So that group of players were great with me, and loved every minute. They were tough. Like a couple of them were really tough, and I didn't mind that. Like as a young lad, I really enjoyed that sort of tough mentality. That if you're going to be a part of this group, you got to work hard and respect and buy into what the club's doing. So I love that.
You talked about there your time with Chelsea as a youngster. Am I right in thinking you flat shared with John Terry at one point?
Yeah. Again, surreal experience. JT, Paul Nicholls, like they were both obviously a few years older than me, and so good with me. And obviously both were young pros at the time, and obviously JT went on to do what he's done, and even now when I see him now, I remember the times as I must have been about 14, 15, something like that. So, and then to play against him for Norwich against Chelsea was brilliant. And then obviously Wales against England, and I was lucky enough to grab both shirts from them games. And just a real, obviously, football man who's obsessed with football. But again, speaking about sort of mentoring younger players, he even though he was only sort of 3-4 years older, maybe he sort of he took me under his wing a little bit when I used to stay in the flat with him. And Bob Osborne, the kitman at the time, was the guy who sort of owned the house, and we used to obviously crash there and stuff. But it was again an amazing experience. No idea he'd obviously go on to achieve what he achieved, albeit you knew he was going to do some special stuff.
Is that mentorship that you've experienced coming through there something that's really driving you now as an under-23s coach to then pass that on to the players that are coming through?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's like obviously society in the world's obviously different now from say 20 years ago. So I'm very sort of mindful that you need to stick with the times and evolve with the times and not be a dinosaur. Not say I used to do this and do that. Where some of that stuff will always be relevant and always be needed in the game. But obviously keeping up with modern trends and, you know, periodization, methodology towards training and tactics and all that sort of stuff is something that I think you've got to be really diligent that you keep on top of that. But I think having good connections with whoever you're working with, whether it's the cleaner, the kit man, the ball, the coaches, like I think you just try and treat everyone the same with that respect, that how you want to be treated. And then with young players, it's just trying to teach them as good habits as early as they can. A lot of the players that I've worked with so far generally seem to have that, which is great. But there's a lot of variables that go with being a young player now, and a lot of distractions that maybe we didn't have growing up. So you've got to try and manage that the best you can. And just you've got to enjoy it. I think like I love football. Like obviously as a player, I absolutely loved it. Is it a roller coaster? Yeah. Do you go through so many different emotions? As sometimes you're absolutely buzzing and on top of the world, and you've played a great game. Everyone's really happy with how you're performing, and then 3-4 weeks later, your form's dipped. You're getting a bit of stick. You're going through a different period, and it's just trying to stay consistent with your actions and your behaviours, which as a young player is a lot harder to do than when you're a more senior player. But it's just trying to keep them level grounded with that, and not get too high, not get too low, and just approach every day as best as you can. And I think doing that gives them a good platform to then take that through their journey, and not being too disappointed, not being too high, but also not trying to compare themselves to others, not trying to take criticism the wrong way, because you know a lot of stuff on social media now you're going to get criticised if you see it and stuff like that. So it's just trying to stay well balanced with everything. And a lot of the young players that I work with, they're all great kids, and they're all different personalities. I think the biggest thing is that every individual is different. Their personality is their own, but what they can have control is how they behave. And I love that. I love working with different people, getting to know them, getting to know what makes them tick, what they struggle with, and then just trying to educate them as best you can.
Do you think it's harder coming through now than say a few years back, not that many years ago, but when you were growing up and coming into football? Because we've seen obviously the emergence of social media really heavily over recent years, and you know players will know that they've had a bad performance. They don't need the tweets to tell them, but they get them. Do you think it's harder now than it was then?
Yeah, like I said, the distractions. There's a lot more distractions that players can get caught up in, I suppose. It's tough, isn't it? Because everyone's entitled to an opinion and what they think and stuff. But I'm very much sort of like anything negative really that gets said. I don't really enjoy that aspect. Like obviously in house, you've got to. I think being honest is the biggest thing for me. But I try and be as honest as I can with every single player, every single coach, person. Like just every person that I'm with, I try to be honest with. And I think I wouldn't personally write negative stuff towards anyone through a social media platform, just because I think it can get taken out the wrong way. Just having a face-to-face chat with someone, I think you can actually gauge what that actual message is. And I think through just reading something, you can take something the wrong way, or it just, I don't know, it doesn't sit well with me. Positive feedback and I don't know, say like a view on something is different to just hammering someone. And I think it's that constructive criticism which players would probably respect and say, yeah, you got a point there or something like that. So it's just it's more say the abuse rather than negative comments that I think just goes a bit too far. But like I said, everyone's entitled to their opinion. It's just that there's a line, and I think every individual should know what that line is really. And if it is a negative comment as far as I didn't think you played well today, then I think players can take that because, like I said, they know. They know that it's just, like I said, that line of from a negative comment to abuse is very different. And I think every individual who writes something knows what that line is. And it's their responsibility to not cross that line, really.
Well, Andrew, your football journey, as we know, brought you to Norwich in 2010, I think it was. Tell us how that move came about.
Yeah, mate, it was it's such an exciting time for me because obviously I was at Brighton at the time, where obviously everyone knows the connection I had with Brighton. But it was my first time there. It was at the Withdean, but in the background you could see that the club was going places and they had the plans of the new stadium and further down the line a new training ground. But that wasn't quite ready for when I was there, and obviously the year when I went to Norwich, it still wasn't ready. And Norwich had come in and shown interest because obviously Brighton were in League One at the same time as Norwich. I was fortunate to have 2 good games against Norwich themselves when we played them. I had a good season for Brighton, which I loved. And I was aware of the interest that they like me, they like what they see. And obviously as soon as the season finished, they come in with an approach. And when I knew that, as a football person and thinking, oh, like Norwich is like coming for me, like the bright yellow, like the stadium, like it just, I was like, oh man, like buzzing with that. Like it's a great club for someone to be like showing interest in me. And as soon as I knew, I was excited straight away. And because, like I said, Brighton weren't the club that they are now or what they were going to be. So it felt like a really good progression for me. And then, yeah, as soon as I knew, and it got done really quick, which obviously doesn't really happen nowadays. It's a lot more sort of stuff that goes into buying a player and signing a player, but it got done really quick, which I think really helped me in my start of my Norwich career because I got off to a flyer.
Yeah, you were actually Paul Lambert's first championship signing, but Gus Poyet, he really, really rated you at Brighton, didn't he? He made you captain, you were player of the year. Was that difficult to say bye to them? Or you say, obviously, you were so excited about coming to Norwich?
It was really tough, like, because Gus was great with me, like, and I learnt so much from him, obviously being a midfielder and watching him play for Chelsea and Spurs and stuff. And when Gus took over, I was like, wow, like this is like the lads were buzzing, and it was really exciting opportunity for every player at the club. And then obviously, like we spoke about my relationship with JT. JT played with Gus, and they were really close. And I remember Gus saying that JT had messaged him from a number to like get back in contact and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, this is like surreal sort of thing. And then Gus Poyet making me captain was just like, wow, like a player at that level was seeing something in me that he wants to make me captain. And then my relationship with Gus, Tano, the assistant, become really tight. And it really kicked my career on because I felt like I learnt so much because he was a midfielder and his passion and desire for the game. And then my relationship with the ball with Tony Bloom, the way he handled me, Norwich coming in for me, it was different class. And I just had that such respect for the club where I thought, they've handled this so well. They understand it's a real good move for me. Of course, I was contracted to them, so they would do the right deal by the club, etc. But it happened quick, which was nice, and I think it just showed the respect that they had for me, that they didn't drag it out, they didn't prolong it, and they were really good with that. And it's probably a big reason why I've ended up going back there 2 times after that, because I just love the club. So yeah, that was that, and to be Paul Lambert's first signing again, it was a real like, wow, like they must really want me. And then when it got over the line, I remember going down to do my medical, and I stayed in the Holiday Inn that night. And I remember looking over the pitch and thinking, God, like I'm buzzing with this. Like this is, you're like, oh no, I hope my medical goes all right, because I'm so desperate to sign now. I can see what the club's about, and had the meeting with the manager prior to the medical, done that, and then got it signed. So yeah, I was really excited about the opportunity.
And you're joining a team that have just won the league. So does that make it easy? Do you come into that team, a buoyant team, obviously looking to achieve something the next year, or do you think, well, hang on, these guys who have all earned their place winning the league, is it going to be difficult for me to slot into this team?
A bit of both, probably, Dan. I think I had to prove myself. That was a big thing, but probably reflecting on my career, when I had to prove myself to people was probably when I performed at my best. And that desire to maybe say, oh, he's like, we're in a championship now. He didn't play in the team that got promoted. He's got a bit of work to do here. And I loved that. I loved the thought of like, yeah, I'm up for that. I remember one of Paul Lambert's first meetings in the change room pre-season. I remember coming in, all the lads are sitting around, and he says, we're going to do it again. We're not here to just stay up. We're here to get promoted again. And I remember thinking, what a statement that is. And I think at the time, everyone was like, well, that's a big ask. Like, just getting promoted and like to then go again. The level was going to be a lot, the standard would be a lot better, etc. But everyone just bought into it straight away. And you think, like, we're buying to that. I'm all in. Like, I am literally all in after hearing that, the excitement of signing for Norwich. So that thinking, am I going to fit in here? Didn't really stick in. It was more like, I need to prove myself here, and I want to get in this team, and I want to play a part in what the gaffer's saying, that he wants to get promoted again. And it was just a relentless attitude to, all right, we got to be at it every single day. We had a group of hungry players that probably all needed to prove themselves at that level a little bit, if you like. So a group of players that were hungry, a talented group who wanted to get to that promised land of the Premier League, was round the corner. Any team in the Championship, you're one league from the Premier League. And I remember thinking that, like, what's like the next thing is the Premier League. So yeah, it was a real strong statement early on to say we are going to have a right go at this.
And you absolutely did. And then the promotion came. And I know you've talked about the fact there were 11 leaders out there on the pitch. There were a lot of characters at the time as well, weren't there? The likes of you and Grant Holt, John Ruddy, Andrew Sermon. Where did that togetherness all come from?
Yeah, it's funny because there'd probably only been a couple that people that say knew each other prior to that. Obviously, the guys had the season before, but then there was quite a few players added to that. So they had a strong core anyway, which always helped. And then I think the recruitment and the characters and the players that the club brought in were hopefully added to that. And yeah, when I go back to it and revisit that changing room, there was just a changing room full of characters that had real personality to a lot of things they did. Like I said previously, like everyone's got a different personality, but them all the personalities seemed to click, and everyone sort of dragged each other through good times, bad times, and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it was one of the best changing rooms I've ever been involved in. It was such an exciting, enjoyable time. Like I said before, you've got to enjoy playing football and being involved in football. If you don't enjoy it, then like you ain't going to be good at it, because if you ain't got a passion for something you do, you ain't going to give it your everything. And I think I just looked at that changing room and thought, everyone wants to do this. Everyone's so desperate to play for this club and get this club to the next level. And it was really enjoyable.
Who are your big mates in the dressing room then? Who are the guys that you still speak to and reminisce about that season? Because that season was awesome. It was so much fun. I refer to it as like the just can't get enough season, because I think that when that song rose to prominence with our fans. But who are the guys for you that you still keep in contact with?
Yeah, there's a few. I love it when you say that, because it makes me think, yeah, mate, you are right. And everyone I speak to after like going back and revisiting these times says exactly the same thing. So it's a real nice thought that not only were we feeling that, like everyone involved with the club was feeling that. And I think that will stick with us forever. And every time that, say, I go back and revisit Norwich, I think like people will talk about that time. A lot of them still. Russ Martin's my best mate in football. So everyone knows our relationship. We live next door to each other pretty much most of the time. And then my second year, Grant Holt also was my neighbour, and then Russ was a little bit further down. And yeah, me and Russ just we had a little spell at Peterborough together, so we clicked there. And then obviously the 2 and a bit years that we would join at the hip sort of thing. The gaffer used to give us quite a bit of stick and make us do silly dances and songs together because the boys seem to enjoy that. So he's a real good mate. Great to see him doing what he's doing at MK Dons now, and can see him doing really well in the future. And I speak to him every other day still. So he's a real special friend of mine, and always will be. And then Grant Holt again, speak to Holty every now and then, and his missus and his 3 girls were, like I said, our next door neighbours in my second year there, just round the corner from the training ground, and become really tight with Holty. Obviously, what he done for the club was phenomenal, and the amount of goals and the way he captained the team was inspiring. And then there's so many, you got to say, Sirs, who obviously I know done the podcast a few weeks back, which I enjoyed watching. Simon Lappin, what a guy. I know still associated with the club, with Adam Jury, thing is, and then I think Elliot Ward at the back, Zach Whitbread, Tierney, obviously Russ is right back, and then midfield, say, of Foxy, Sirs, me, Laps, and obviously Wesley Houlihan, who again, I speak to Wes every now and then, and just an infectious character who, obviously, when I went back for their testimonial, it was great to see two legends of the club getting that sort of reception. And Wes was such a good player to play with, and I used to try and get him the ball as much as I could. I'd try and win it back for him, give it to him, and let him do the rest, because he could torment the opposition. And then you had obviously Simeon Jackson, Grant Holt, Chris Martin, Owen Tudor-Jones, Matt Gill, who again didn't really play a lot for the club, but such important figures within the dressing room. And then obviously John Ruddy, obviously speaking to us before, Jed Steer, like the keepers coming through, like just top people that I can't think of one player there that I at times thought, you're a bit of an egg. There weren't no one. We didn't have one bad egg. We didn't have one person in the change room who didn't want to do what we wanted to do. And I think that's really important, that energy and chemistry with the boys that ain't in the starting 11. They want to play. They're unhappy. But we never had that. Of course, they wanted to still play, and they would have been frustrated if they didn't play. But they all still supported the team and trained hard every day. So the players that, if you ain't got a group of players that are trying to get into a starting team and they sulk and they give negative energy, we wouldn't have done what we done. So a massive part of what we done and the core ones that started every week, that was down to them boys as well. And I think that's so important to know that everyone at that football club were pulling in the right direction. I mentioned obviously the keepers there, and obviously Declan Rudd as well and stuff. And just I spent a little bit when I was at Cholton a few years back. That come on loan there, so it was nice to see a familiar face there again. And just all them people there. If I bumped into him in the street now, it would be like I'd seen him every day for the last 10 years. And I think we should do so. I don't, like I was saying before, like the 10-year anniversary of it all. We did speak about doing something as a group, but obviously with the current situation, it's a little bit tough. We might need to put that on hold.
Wow, what an absolute group of legends you've just reeled off there. A real trip down memory lane. Absolutely love that. But what were your favourite moments from that season in the Premier League then? Because I know you've talked about it being an absolute dream come true to be playing at that level. And it was, safety managed to stay up convincingly that season. What were your favourite moments?
From the season that we got promoted, Alice, or the season in the Premier League?
Season in the Premier League.
Season in the Premier League. Right. The first game of the season away to Wigan was obviously a highlight just because it's your first game in the Premier League. Would you have liked it to have been at Carrow Road or, say, one of the bigger stadiums? Probably, yeah, but it didn't really matter. Having your first game in the Premier League that you've worked so hard to do, and say, even if you only played one game and you didn't play for the rest of the season, just to say that you played in the Premier League, I think for any player is a dream come true, and that certainly was the case for me. And then watching Match of the Day the night, it was a bit. The game weren't great, to be fair. It was 0-0, wasn't it? So it was a little bit of a. We'll take the point because it's away from home, etc. But then watching Match of the Day and thinking, gee, like, I can't wait to watch Match of the Day. And that, you didn't make a mistake, so you weren't one of them where you thought, if I make a mistake, I'm going to get highlighted on Match of the Day. So it was great. And then playing at all the big stadiums was surreal. Like, and I think if I think about it now, and you're going to all these top stadiums and playing against these world-class players, you probably didn't have too much time to think about it at the time. It's only when you reflect back on it. And loved every minute of it. The games I think it was Newcastle at home. I set a couple of goals up. I think it was either Newcastle or Everton. It was quite, and that was nice for me to get a couple of assists in the Premier League, which again is something that I really enjoyed. The last game against Villa was probably bittersweet because it was obviously my last game, but also like one that I maybe thought that could be the case. Obviously, the gaffer was getting linked with Villa at the time as well. So I think I managed to play 24 games that season, which I'll take, to be fair. But if I had the opportunity again, would you go for it a little bit more? Potentially, maybe. At the time, you just think you're just so excited to be there. And then, obviously, I thought that it could happen again with Brighton because we were so close, and that was one of the reasons that I ended up going back to Brighton, because of the ambition that club went there, and I thought it would be a similar journey. And that's probably one of my regrets, that I only had one season in the Prem, but I can still say that I had that season in the Prem. Would have I revisited the Prem again if I didn't have my 2 knee injuries? Potentially, yeah. I think at the time when I'd done my injuries, I was, again, say, like in the top 4 clubs, top 5 clubs in the Champs. So I think I would have had maybe another go at that. That can't change anything. So it's not one of them that I'm bitter on or nothing like that, because I absolutely loved every minute of my season in the Premier League, and it was, as I said, dream come true.
You talked about your various spells at Brighton, and I think I'm right in saying they're a really strong community club as well. The parallels between the way you speak about Norwich City and the way you speak about Brighton, are there similarities of the two clubs?
Yeah, definitely, mate. Yeah, like my memories of obviously Norwich are so strong because of the time that the successful time that we had was unique, and the people and the city and the community feel, because it's an isolated club on its own, if you like, and that real togetherness really shines through. And it's a similar one with Brighton. Like my passion for representing Brighton is so strong, and I love going to work every day, putting a badge on, giving it my all every single day. The people that work there are special people who I absolutely love, and it makes me want to give that extra bit that I can every day. Yeah, really similar comparisons there, because they're two clubs that have got a lot of special people involved. Similar sizes, if you like. I think now Brighton's probably, like, with the new training ground and stuff, it is phenomenal.
And it's so true about facilities, and training ground is a footballer's home, basically. You know, they spend more time there than they do anywhere else, really. So it's so important. And as you say, it does sound fairly similar. I don't know if you've been able to see the training ground and the facilities at Norwich lately, but on a kind of same way, there's been a lot of investment in that. Have you heard much about that?
No, I haven't, to be fair. I'd love to. I love visiting different training grounds and stuff, and obviously, hopefully, at one point I'll be able to visit the Norwich training ground again, because I love seeing different clubs set their sort of environment and cultures up. And again, you always knew that Norwich had the ambition to keep developing, keep pushing, and like I said, that it is, when you put it's their home for football. It's a great way of breaking it down, because it's you spend so much time there, and that environment and culture, a lot of clubs and coaches, players, managers will talk about. That's a massive part of what your team looks like on a weekend.
Andrew, I know we've talked all about that season, the 2010-11 promotion season. It's memorable for me. It's when I started working at the club. But I just wanted to take you back and get the insider's perspective on a particular run of games that stands out for me, and that is Ipswich away, Derby at home, Portsmouth away to finish promotion. What was it like being part of that? I don't know whether it was 10 days, 2 weeks, being part of that little run.
Exciting, mate. Exciting. Exhausting as well, because you're so close to getting over that line. And the amount of work you think that from a pre-season to that end point of the season where you feel that you're nearly there, but you got to stay focused. You've got to not think about what that end part looks like. Use it as a little bit of a, right, I've got to give a little bit more, because if I do that, this is going to happen. But not let it sort of distract you in your approach, into your routine. Your main focus has to be on getting the job done. And I think, the Ipswich game would have been a massive part of that, where that we've obviously early on in the season gave a top performance at Carrow Road, and obviously the scoreline speaks for itself. And then to do that away from home and close to, like you said, that end part of the season was probably one where you go, yeah, we're feeling this. Like, you can feel that something is going to happen, and we're close. And then obviously the Derby game, and then the Portsmouth game. The Portsmouth game was again, it was. I can feel that as if it was yesterday. Like, we're in a hotel. Cardiff are playing Middlesbrough before we leave. We catch the first 10, 15 minutes before we have to get on a bus to leave for the stadium. And me and Russ are in the room together. We're watching it. Like, I think it was like 5 minutes in, or really early on, like Middlesbrough go 1-0 up. So we're like, I'm looking at Russ like, come on, son, here we go. And then a couple of minutes later, it's 2-0. So we're into the corridor. All the other lads are coming out of their rooms. We're like, boys, like, this is us. Like, this could be us. A couple of minutes later, it's 3-0. Like, 3-0. And then we're like, oh my God, like, we just need to win. And we've done it. So we're getting on the bus, and I remember Simon Lappin used to sit on the front of the bus, and me and Laps had a top relationship. And I remember, and he's a passionate, tough Scotsman who loved football. And again, played a fair bit that season, but not as much as, say, a lot of the boys, but had that relentless attitude of training where he wanted to get in that team. And if he didn't, he was going to push everyone just as hard to keep on top of their performances. And I remember looking at him, and he looked at me, and we both sort of said, this is it, mate. Like, we are going to do it. And then we're sitting down, we're getting there, and you're getting in your zone, you're getting your focus, but you're thinking, we just need to win, man. We win, and we're in the Premier League. So the gaffer was really good at keeping us calm, to stay in the zone of just doing what we've been doing for the rest of the season, not letting the Cardiff score get in the way of that. And then we started the game really well. We should have been 2 or 3 up in the first half. And then as a player, you're thinking, nah, this ain't going to be one of them games where you're on top and you don't get the goal. But you're thinking, surely, like, it's got to be tonight. And then second half, we come out, and then the goal's the goal. Obviously, I remember, I think it's Waldy's played a bit of a clearance. Like, I've managed to trap, not a bad touch, played it inside, and then obviously Foxy's played an outstanding cross to Simeon Jackson, who at the time was on top form. And then obviously edited it in, obviously all by the fans, and then we're all going nuts thinking, yeah, this is us, 1-0 up. This is our night. And then gets closer to, say, 5-10 minutes to the end. Greg Alford's playing for them, who's got a massive throw. And you think, like, they have a few throws. He's throwing it long into our box. You're thinking, nah, like, we need to deal with the danger. Get the ball out, relax, like, see it through. But you're thinking, God, like, you could just feel it. It's like, it's coming. And then obviously the final whistle goes, and it's just bedlam, and everyone's just going crazy. The fact, like, obviously fans behind the goal going mental, and the celebrations, like, and the feel of knowing that you've done it, and then speaking, like, in the change room to your family, to your friends, celebrating with this group of people that you've worked so hard to achieve what you've achieved, and then celebrating that night in Portsmouth. Like, we didn't sleep, didn't go to bed. Me and Russ were just like, I remember, God knows what time we got in.
Did Russ Martin ever put any trousers on? Because that was the Russ Martin in his pants evening.
Yeah, he loved it, mate, didn't he? We got back in the room just talking about, mate, like, we've done it. We're in the Premier League. Like, it was just surreal that we didn't go to bed. Then we flew home the next day. We wasn't meant to fly back that night, but we was like, nah, there's no chance. We need to enjoy this. And then we go back. Then we have a couple of celebrations, like, in Norwich, and then we've obviously got another game to prepare for, with Coventry being the last game. So yeah, them games, like I said, mate, especially obviously the Ipswich and the Portsmouth game was it was unreal, mate.
It sounds like you were such a family unit, you guys, as well. I mean, what do you remember from that night celebrating? You say you didn't get much sleep, but there must have been a few stories to tell.
Yeah, you speaking about saying Russ having his pants. I remember being in the club in Portsmouth with none of us had any gear, like other gear, because obviously we didn't think that we was going to go out. We thought we was flying back that night, and I remember was it a Thursday or Friday? It might have been a Thursday or Friday, you know.
Monday, I think. Pompey was a Monday. Yeah,
it wasn't a weekend. Put it that way. So it wasn't like a thing, but we went somewhere. It was really busy. We celebrated in night. I remember, like I said, we was in club gear, but a lot of us didn't come back with tops on and stuff. I remember being in the club thinking, like, looking around and everyone ain't got a t-shirt on, like, just like probably swinging it around their heads, whatever, just to enjoy it, like a group of lads just enjoying it, but obviously still having respect for the people that are in the bar, but just having that camaraderie together. And like I said, I remember even like you're still speaking about football that night, so you're absolutely buzzing. But then you're like, remember that game, remember this game, and then like you remember that goal, you remember this goal, and just celebrate. Like I said, a group of people that just wanted to prove people wrong. So when you've done that, not prove people wrong as you like, but just prove that you can go to that level and obviously get promoted from the Championship, and then the celebrations after, like when we beat Coventry. Them 2-3 nights after that, phenomenal. And then we went away together as a team to Vegas, which was like a lot of debuts going out to Vegas, which was surreal. The guys that had been to Vegas were excited for the ones that hadn't been, to see their faces when they got there, and the big buildings, the lights, the atmosphere, a great way to again celebrate with people that just was just so not relieved, but like just so excited to have done what they've done, with the amount, like I said, the amount of work that you have to put into a promotion season. You should never underestimate that. And we enjoyed it. Like I said, we enjoyed that 2-3 weeks, but then you're like, right, it's done now. Like now we're in it. We got to prepare for that. That's all done. The celebrations are done. We've now got to concentrate on the next bit. And I think listening to a lot, I love listening to podcasts and listening to a lot of the top athletes, entrepreneurs, all that sort of stuff. They don't enjoy it too long. So, and I can relate to that because look, we had a good time. We enjoyed it and stuff. But as soon as you get over that initial call, we've won that, we've done that, you're on to the next thing. And that's I think so important that you enjoy it, but you don't enjoy it too long, because if you do enjoy it too long, you might get caught out a little bit. And I think probably why we had a successful season the next year is that as soon as we enjoyed our time of doing that, we was ready for the next thing.
I just want to ask. I just want to ask a slightly not controversial question, but potentially difficult question. Paul Lambert was the manager at the time. And he obviously had a phenomenal spell while he was here. And we can't obviously, discount his contribution to the club. Since leaving Norwich, he's not had as much luck. And I'm not putting the boot in. I'm not obviously laughing at misfortune with Ipswich recently. But what do you think his management style was that clicked with the group of players that you're talking about that he hasn't managed to reignite since?
Yeah, tough question, mate, because obviously, unless you're in the building with a club and seeing how they work day to day, what personality, what characters they've got within the building, so it's a really tough question. Like I said, we had a group there that the gaffer managed in a way that he got the best out of everyone, every single player that was there. Whether, like I said, you was playing or not playing, he made you feel a part of it. And why, like you said, he hasn't gone on to replicate what he done at Norwich. I can't answer that, just because there's so many different variables to that question, with what club you go to, what players you got, what styles, what all that sort of stuff. It's the golden question, and I think what he done in that 2 and a bit years was obviously a phenomenal achievement. And look, you don't do that if you're not a talented manager. So I'm sure. What's happened after that, again, I can't comment. I can just comment on the times that we spent together. And again, being an ex-midfielder, I learned a lot. So I just worked for under Gus, who was a midfielder, then Paul, who again was a midfielder, and I just felt like it benefited me so much. But yeah, tough question, Dan. It's hard to say. Like you think that he would have gone on and done lots of, and by the way, he's managed some big clubs after Norwich, and it would be very hard to replicate what he'd done just because the amount of success that he did have. Like it's probably like, I don't know the full stats and all that, but it wouldn't surprise me if they're still decent. It's just not to the level of what he'd done at Norwich, which again is so tough to do, and you've got so many clubs wanting to do that. It's the nature of the game. But I'm sure if you look back at, say, the stats or whatever, there still be decent results as far as what he's done. I can't really comment on it, but I can just say that the time that we had in that 2 and a bit years was unforgettable.
Where does Lambert rank among your favourite players to have worked under? Obviously, you talk a lot about Gus Poyet there as well.
Yeah, he's high, very high on the list. Like I got so much respect for Paul Lambert, obviously being his first signing, how he was with me, what we achieved in that 2 and a bit years. I'll be forever thankful for that. And every time I stepped on the pitch for Paul Lambert, I wanted to give absolutely everything that I had for him, for myself, my family, for the fans, for the club, and that's what I'll do wherever I've been. Wales managers, very lucky. Chris Coleman, unbelievable. Gary Speed, unbelievable. John Toshak gave me my debut. Obviously, a massive football legend who I'll be forever thankful for that. So my Wales managers were massive for me. And then my Brighton managers, like I said, like Gus was different gear. Oscar Garcia was brilliant. Sammy Hippier, top guy. Chris Shuton, obviously, who had a bit with Norwich as well, and then Brighton, top fella. My early days under at Gills under Andy Essenthaler, who gave me my first ever pro contract. I'm still friends with him now. A top man. Russell Slade twice, Brighton and Charlton. Graham Alexander at Scunthorpe, really good. And then my last one. At Newport under Michael Flynn, who I played with at Gymnam, a top guy and doing really well as a manager. And I hope he keeps doing what he's doing because he's hopefully got a bright future as well. So I've been very, very lucky to play for some top managers and some top people with that. And I feel very, very blessed to have done that. And I'll try and take a little bit from all of them, but most importantly, be my own person. But with that amount of knowledge and experience that I've worked with, you can only take bits from them, and hopefully it moulds you into a well-rounded coach.
John Toshak mentioned there, Liverpool legend, and then handed you your first cap for Wales. Is it a Welsh grandparent? There must have been some real pride there pulling on your national jersey. Yeah,
very proud, mate. My dad's dad, so obviously my granddad was full Welsh. So my dad, it was from my dad's side, really. Obviously got a lot of English family, but to represent, say my granddad, who was a massive inspiration for me as growing up as a young lad, to know that I'd played for his country, for my country, etc. was really, really proud. My dad obviously my mum is ultra proud as well, but with my dad, he grew up in Wales and spent a lot of time there, and I have a load of family in North Wales who are real kind, special sort of people that are really just love life, and to know that I've played for my country at under 19, 21 and senior level, and played for, like I said, some top managers and with some really outstanding football players is, again, you look back, it's only when you do things like this that you reflect on it a little bit and realise sort of what you've been able to achieve, albeit there's loads and loads of players that have achieved a lot more than me. But I'm proud to have achieved as much as I could and squeeze as much out of my playing career as I could. Loved it.
Another manager you actually played alongside was Ryan Giggs for Wales, didn't you? You've seen what he's gone on to do now, managing the side. What is your longer term aim?
Yeah, the Giggsy one. I remember when I first broke into the squad under Toshak, and I remember obviously playing, watching Giggs as a fan and seeing how good he was, and then training with him. But then the first training session I had that night, when the players go for their evening meals or whatever, I remember we got there and I'd sat in a place and I didn't realise it was next to Giggsy at the time. I think he was getting a bowl of soup or whatever, and he's come back. And I'm sitting down, and then I've looked like, and it's here. I'm like, what? Like, it's right next to me. I'm thinking, what did I say, man? What did I say? But again, just like such.
What did you say though?
I don't know. To be fair, I can't remember. I probably asked him about a few of his goals or something like that. But he just, again, I've spoken to him loads more since because I'm on my pro license, and obviously, with a Welsh FA, when I was at Newport, he come to a Newport game. I think he was turning on the Christmas lights, and I weren't playing at the time. I had a little injury, and I remember the Newport chairman, who was a top guy, said, "Look, like Giggsy's coming into the boardroom. Like, it'd be great for you to see him before." I was like, "Cool." And then I went in there, and he's like, "Crofty, how you doing?" And I'm like, he still knows my name. Like, I was buzzing. And then I'd spent the time with him speaking, and I just thought, wow, like he loved the Wales team had the game before, so we were sort of talking about that a bit. And then it was just really like, I just love speaking to him. And then on our pro license, he's done a couple of talks on that, and he's just been really sort of like quite open with what he speaks about, and I've got a lot of respect for that. And again, with someone who's achieved that amount, he obviously coached and assistant manager at Man United, then he had a time in interim manager, now he's the Wales first team manager. Just really fortunate to even be able to speak to him. So every time I speak to them people, I just try and absorb as much as I can. My ambition is I want to coach, manage as high as I can. I'm in no rush, but I'm in a rush to be the best that I can be at what I choose to do. And I think you're always becoming something. I'll never say I'm a top coach or a top manager, because I think you're always becoming something, because you're always learning. And I want to be the best I can be. I'm an ambitious, really driven person who wants to, like I said, hopefully coach, manage at the highest level. Will I be able to do that? Hopefully. I've got a lot of self-belief in myself, but like I said, how long that period takes, if it takes 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, I ain't in no rush. And I think that's why I'm in a real good place now to do my hours, to do my learning. And I'm learning literally every single day, organising, delivering sessions, trying to, the analysis side of it, the periodisation side of it, sort of like getting to, we've got so many support staff at the club that do specialise in all their different departments. And I'll try and learn as much as I can from everyone. And then hopefully that sort of makes you a more well-rounded coach and potential manager one day. So yeah, I'm very ambitious, but I'm in no rush. I'm sure there'll be plenty of opportunities that hopefully will keep coming in the next years, decade, whatever. So I'm looking forward to it.
The two of the qualities that I'm getting from our chat, and I'm sure Alice you'll agree while we're talking to you, Andrew, are humility and gratitude for everything that football's given you. And it's a really similar characteristic to, I would say, our current crop of players, and it's perhaps what's served them so well as a unit. Would you say those are two of the guiding principles in how you really live your life?
Yeah, cheers, Dan. I appreciate that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I just think I like to think that I'll treat every single person the same. I'd like to think that I'm very honest with how I perform every day. And I think you can always be a little bit biased to yourself. And that's as a player, you're always a little bit biased to yourself. Like, why is he playing in front of me? Why is he like, nah, I disagree with that, this and that. And I think as I've got older, I've really tried to nail that and be as honest as I can with myself and know my strengths, know my weaknesses, and believe, like I said, I really believe in myself. And I think because I'm so passionate about the game and about people. That's like I said, I think wanting to play for someone. So that our young players at Brighton now, I've got loads of good relationships with them, because when I say that I want them to do well, I want them to do well. I don't just say it just for the sake of saying it, because it's an easy thing to say. Every time that someone trains or someone plays, I want them to be the best they can be. And when they're going through a little bit of a tough time, I'll be there for them. I'll never give up on anyone. And I think it's important that people know that, and they don't. But people can say it and not really mean it. And hopefully when I speak to someone, they know that, like, what I'm saying to them, I believe it, and I will stick by it until the end. And obviously, but then you've got to learn. You've got to realise where you've got to put a lot of your energy into. You've got to have good people around you that will be honest with you as well. So that I love challenging people. I want to be challenged myself. But you've got to be supportive with that. So you can't just challenge someone and never support someone. So you don't want to keep telling someone that they're doing well if they're not doing well. You've got to be like honest with them. But there's a way to be honest when someone ain't doing well, that then has a negative effect on their performance, where if you do it in a way, hopefully that they take it on board, but they don't sort of shrink into their shells or whatever. Hopefully that'll be my style. But I'll be really demanding every day. I won't let anyone not sort of give it their best every single with everything they do. And that's whether you're a player, coach, staff, whoever. I think you've got a responsibility when you're at a football club that you buy into what that club's about, what the badge means to you. Hopefully that humility and gratitude to the game is something that I pride myself on.
That's so good to hear. And how much would you think that your experiences and your success at Norwich have helped kind of shape your mould of what you're giving to the younger generation now?
Yeah, I think obviously that the feeling of success it's obviously the best feeling ever, to get promoted with a group of people that you were so close to. The feeling is undescribable, because you want that feeling as much as you can. Some players will obviously experience it more than others because of obviously the club they're at, the talent, the work ethic they got, etc. All the different stuff. But when you feel that, you just want to keep feeling it. And success can be in many different ways, from promotions, from individual accolades, team accolades, surviving relegation, that sort of stuff. But also, I think some of your biggest failures can be your biggest successes as well. So I've had loads of tough times in football. Like, obviously none more so than two big injuries. And if they made me a better person, 100%. Would I want someone to get injured just to experience the process of being able to return to it and having that mental toughness to get through to it? I wouldn't want any player to get injured, because I know what it feels like to miss games, miss training for a long time, and seeing your teammates going out and doing what you love doing, and you can't do that. Would I want anyone to do that just to make them a better person? No, of course not. But as it made me the person I am today, yes. Like, so any experience that I've gone through, whether it had been good or bad, I try to use it to make me better. And then hopefully, like I said, them different experience from good times, bad times, good form, bad form, injuries, promotions, playoff campaigns, all that sort of stuff will hopefully, really play a part in my next chapter. And my next chapter, I'm really excited about. Like, I absolutely loved being a player, and I enjoyed it more than anything. Was it a roller coaster? Yeah. Was it highs and lows? Yeah, of course. But my next chapter as a coach and hopefully manager one day, I'm more excited about, if I'm being honest. And I think it's a big statement, because you won't hear a lot of people say that, or a lot of ex-players say it, because they missed the buzz of playing and that feel. But I don't know, my early part of it for the last 18 months, I've enjoyed it that much that I'm really excited about it, because I don't know, I just feel like, obviously I captained a few clubs and that sort of hopefully a skill of mine that connecting people and having that feel to it. I'm excited that hopefully I can achieve some good things in my next chapter, albeit it's going to be tough. There's a lot of work to do. I've got lots of improving to do, but I'm looking forward to it.
I feel excited for you, Andrew. It's so good to hear you say all of that. And finally, I just want to end. What does Norwich City mean to you, and why is the club so special?
Lots of different reasons, but the part that it played in my life for that 2 and a bit years, I was so happy for that 2 and a bit years. Anyone tell you, when you're happy in your life as far as your personal, your professional, etc., the people in the city were superb. To live there as a city was beautiful. Like the house we lived in, like the area we lived in, it was just it was a real. I had a young. I've got 2 kids, but I only had one at the time. A young lad to bring kids up in Norfolk was beautiful. So that part of it as family life, etc., was so special. And then my professional life, as far as the people that I worked with for that 2 and a bit years, the success we had. I used to always love putting into the players' car park on the day of a match day and walking around, and you walk around the pitch. And it's a similar one at Brighton where you walk across. And I just remember thinking, I can't wait to play today. It was when the stadium was empty, and you used to sort of visualise, in about an hour and a half's time, this is going to be packed. It's going to be rocking. And I just couldn't wait. I was so excited by every home game. And obviously away games are different because it's a different feel. But your home games at Carrow Road was just so exciting. And obviously we won so many games there. So that obviously when you're winning games and you're getting closer to what you want to achieve, it was just such a happy time. I can't really describe it any other. It was just so happy and enjoyable. But it was hard work. Don't get me wrong. The physical demands that we put on ourselves as a team, because we worked so hard for each other. But I love the thought of working hard, and I love the thought of being tired after a game or tired after training, because you know you're doing something. So my 2 and a bit years at Norwich will stay with me forever. No matter what happens in the future, that period of time with that group of people will always live with me forever as a special time in my life.
You know what? I genuinely think we can all learn something from your characteristics and ethos there. It's just so good to hear you speak. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. Really, really interesting. Thoroughly enjoyed that. And good luck with your coaching career as you progress. Thank you.
No, cheers. That's much appreciated. I've absolutely loved it. You two seem like great people yourselves as well. So it's been a pleasure to speak to you both.
It's been a great time. Thanks ever so much, Andrew.